without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce David Roth, who's the Green Machine's Alumni Chapter's inaugural president. And I just want to thank them again for hosting tonight. With this, I am going to go ahead and turn it over to, I will make one more reminder. Even though the game is canceled for tomorrow night, the virtual tailgate is still happening. So please come out. We're going to have great trivia, great Mason trivia, bingo. We'll be giving away a lot of prizes, a lot of spirit boxes. So come on out and have a good time. Without further ado, I turn it over to you, David.
Great, Jen, thank you very much. My name is David Roth, class of 2011, studied economics and music. And as Jen said, I'm the chapter president of a relatively newly formed Green Machine Ensembles alumni chapter. First, thanks for joining us to hear some tour stories. A little bit of history about this group first. My understanding is that this community has its roots in Mason basketball. Mason basketball went Division I in 1978 and had periods where the team was really good. We don't know exactly what year the first pep band was, but we have contact with collections of alumni that go back to the 80s. In 2019, a couple of years ago, we hosted an event at Homecoming, and we had a small group of alums that were there. There was somebody from the 1989 band that went to the NCAA tournament with Coach Ernie Nestor's team. And there was a reporter from, I think it was NBC, that had embedded themselves with the band and traveled with them to the NCAA tournament. And this reporter deemed them the world's most dangerous pep band. So Peter, can you actually pull up the first couple pictures that we have here? We'll do a little bit of show and tell. So the first one that we have, this is, as far as I know, the earliest picture of the pep band that we have from back in the 80s. Still rocking green and gold. Can't tell if it's photo quality or material choice, but there sure enough is some green and gold and a tiger that I'd love to get more context on what that is from. Peter, head to the next one. So a couple years ago, 2019 it was, at Homecoming, there I am. Yes, we have Teresa here. Am I remembering correctly? Teresa, were you at this event? While she's working out microphone things, this event, Peter, it looks like we've got, yeah, all right, there we go. So what we're pointing at here, there I am, gold sweatshirt and green jacket over it on what looks to be a nice, warm and cozy February homecoming, as we've had sometimes in the past. But there is one of the illustrious sweatshirts, world's most dangerous pep band. They're live and in color. And we had one of the alums that came out to our event and was able to show off that awesome piece of memorabilia. So those that are in the audience here tonight, if you were in any of the athletic bands, from whatever year that it was, if it was recently, if it was long ago, if you can put the approximate years that you were active in the chat, just so we can see who we've got here. I know we have at least a couple recent folks from the late 2010s. Like I said, I was class of 2011, so we'll see as far back as we can go, but okay, 2011 there. So we'll keep watching these come in. But if you were in any of the athletic bands from before, we'd love to know approximately what years you were involved. So the band before 2006 was run by students. And the biggest band that I've seen in pictures is about 30 students. Since 2006, when Dr. Michael Nickens was brought in, the community expanded significantly. And that's one of the reasons that we chose the name Green Machine and Athletic Ensembles for this alumni chapter, to capture just a huge number of interconnected groups that now exist. So in no specific order, there are now 3 drum lines in curricular and extracurricular formats. There's a competitive winter guard, there's a fife and drum corps, Civil War era band, there's a funk band, there's a music service fraternity, Kappa Kappa Psi, that we have Leanne here is rocking some Kappa Kappa Psi letters. Fantastic. Kappa Kappa Psi was a service fraternity that was formed as an offshoot of these organizations. And of course, the pep band, the Green Machine. those are just a few examples of the breadth of things that are going on in this group. There's a lot of other ensembles that pop up as needed. When I was a student, we had a jazz combo that on one of our trips down to an invitational tournament in Puerto Rico, the jazz combo was able to play at a School of Management event. So there are groups that sort of come and go, but that's who's represented by this Alumni Association chapter. So today we wanted to put together some good memories and tell some stories about what we've done in the past, what's going on now. Our hope is that this event is going to be casual enough that those with stories of their own, what they remember about pep band from their years, you're encouraged to speak up, either put those things in the chat or use the raise your hand feature here on Zoom. We definitely want to hear those stories if you have them, and we'd like to share them. So in this alumni chapter, fortunate to work with some talented and dedicated folks. Peter Milligan's role in the chapter here is to focus on social events like this one. So Peter, where would you like to begin?
Well, I would like to begin right where you started telling your story about the jazz combo in Puerto Rico, because that has, interestingly enough, become a focal and formative trip in my life. My name's Peter Milligan. I graduated with the class of 2012, managing in communications and journalism. And the reason why that trip to Puerto Rico is so important is because as a wide-eyed freshman on that trip, who by some miracle was selected by Doc Nix to participate and join that trip, met an electric violin player on that trip. And yes, the band is famous for having electric violins and now harps and DJs and vocalists and every instrument under the sun and every job under the sun. But at the time, met a very nice young lady who played the electric violin, who years later turned out to be my wife, Michelle Milligan. We lived together in Bristow, Virginia. She works for the Department of Education as the state's music specialist. And I work out here for Amazon Web Services in their marketing department. But yeah, that is and will forever be my fondest memory as a member of the Green Machine Pep Band for quite obvious reasons. But I would like to walk us through a couple of the real kind of highlights of my collegiate career with the band. And I think for a lot of the folks who were part of this ensemble with me, it was the same for them as well. And the first one, I am confident, if you have spent any time on the internet or social media, you have seen this video. At the time of this rehearsal, we are in the Dulaski building, the newly built Dulaski building, as a matter of fact. I believe this was its inaugural year when we were rehearsing in the practice space. David, keep me honest. But Doc came in and said, guys, I have something a little different for you tonight. We ran through the chart a couple times, and for those who have been in rehearsals where we're running new charts, sometimes it takes 5, 6 run-throughs, maybe 2, 3 rehearsals for us to kind of fall into the spirit and the groove of a song. But for some reason that night, it was electric in more ways than one, and it resulted in probably one of Green Machine's most famous and infamous videos. So without further ado, I will play it for you now. And I'll pause to add commentary that this young lady, if you can see my mouse cursor, in the yellow shirt playing the clarinet in the Rage Against the Machine arrangement, which makes all the sense in the world, is none other than Alicia Long, who is David Roth's lovely girlfriend and the roommate of my wife, Michelle. So it all comes first full circle. We are all one big happy family in the Green Machine. Continue. Yeah, so quite different for a pep band, something that at least up until that point, the music world hadn't really seen out of a traditional pep band ensemble. But that is what Doc and what we are all about in this family of the Green Machine. So I am sure you all have seen that video. It was kind of the moment where, um, you know, besides perhaps 2006 when the basketball team went to the Final Four, this is, kind of part two of the world really hearing the noise of George Mason and its pep band. So that was a pretty cool thing to be a part of. You did not see me in the video because I was way in the back, but I was indeed playing trombone as a member of that band. Another cool thing about being part of this group is I mentioned at the top my field of study. It was not music. It was not music education. It was not a music minor. It's one of the beautiful things about being part of this group is that if a hobby of yours is music, then you are welcome to grab your instrument that you hadn't played since 6th grade and come and make some noise. So it's something that I really appreciate about being in the group. The next memory I wanted to share with you all also was I was lucky enough to be part of this along with David and Velez and I think Sawyer and Leanne as well. This was 2011 at Mason Madness. And I'm curious, either by show of virtual or physical hands, if you all have been to a Mason Madness event. Yeah, not surprising. Good to see. One of my favorite things is as both part of the band as a member of the university was getting to know the basketball team, watching them mess around and lob huge dunks to each other and scrimmage. And for years and years, the pep band was just kind of there to Mama Nix and Sister Nix in the house. That's awesome. Glad to see you guys. For years and years, the pep band's role at Mason Madness was to kind of hang out in the stands, provide, musical background as we would a la a basketball game. But this year in particular, Doc and Jeremy and their mad scientist brains got together and decided that they wanted to kind of blow that up a little bit. So for weeks, we rehearsed this chart arranged by, I believe, Jeremy Freer, and decided to add marching band choreography and also pull in, I believe, all of George Mason's athletic tagged dance and cheer organizations. So we had the Masonettes, we had the Mason cheerleaders, we had Urbanology, the hip hop dance team. And this turned into a complete full scale production of, at the time, the #1 just chart topping, ear numbing summer hit of all time, Party Rock Anthem. And the thing that I will remember most about this is the cheerleaders were smart enough to break the pep band into 2 groups. And you'll see in a second what I'm talking about. One group, who's featured right dead center, was the one who had dance acumen, rhythm, a left and a right foot. And the other group, who are flanking that center group that I was a part of, were responsible for a much simpler, much more elementary version of the same dance. And it was a beautiful thing because while the center group was taking days and days to nail down the choreography, we all mastered ours in a matter of about 20 minutes. So this is 2011 Mason Madness and Party Rock Anthem. And this is the infamous dance right here in the middle.
Every day I'm shuffling.
Yeah, pretty cool. I also I also loved Ryan Pearson and all those basketball guys on the side, just like doing their own thing, messing around. But I will also always remember when Doc was kind of introducing that little dance number. As soon as he said, "Every day I'm shuffling," and we started dancing, the group of people in the stands went just absolutely bananas, and it was the coolest thing ever. The last thing that I want to share, and then I will pipe down and pass it to one of my colleagues. I need to figure out how to exit full screen now, you guys. Let's see. There we go. The other thing that we were able to do, in addition to going to Puerto Rico, was we got to go to a number of different cities around the country, tagging along with the basketball team at their various tournaments, both preseason and postseason. Exactly, Jen. That's exactly right. Charleston in the Park. So I got to go, I think back in 2010, 2011, with David. And, yeah, we've gone twice, and we've done incredible things while we were there both times. The first time, I went with David and Alicia and Michelle and Velez. Maybe you went as well. Leanne, I don't know. I can't remember the crews that were on these trips, but in this particular trip, we got to go to a local school and rehearse with their band. We gathered on the stage, and we were on the stage and they were in the crowd, and then we kind of swapped places, and then we rehearsed in their music room, and then we did breathing exercises and warm-ups, and Doc led the whole thing. It was a beautiful thing. This trip in 2015, the band, I was not part of this trip, but the band put on a ridiculous performance in a park in the middle of Charleston. And in that same trip, they also volunteered at a local Charleston food bank, which was incredible. And our very talented Josh Cruz put together an amazing video highlighting that trip that I will show you now. There's Leanne. Same school that we were at when I was there. There's Velez. Man, if that doesn't want to get you to want to join the Green Machine, I don't know what will. That was awesome. All right, so I appreciate the opportunity, David and Jen and the Alumni Association, for you to give me the chance to walk down memory lane and remember why it was so awesome to be part of this group. And before I pass it on over to Sawyer, who's gonna show another video and tell some stories, does anyone want to ask any questions about any of those things or add their own take? I know that Velez, I think you were featured in all.
Yeah. Well, no, I was going to say, I remember one of the highlights of that Mason Madness show was the fact that Doc was on sabbatical. So his return is what made that like moment so crazy, is because nobody saw him for the whole semester, and then there he was for the whole thing. So that's what made that moment even more amazing. I remember that, joint.
That's so true. And right before we saw Doc count us off on the dance, he and Jeremy had this dramatic entrance from the back, and the band parted seas and they come through, and it was just, oh, it was so amazing. So
more than extra, but so worth it.
So worth it. So worth it. And I think too, this has become commonplace in Green Machine current, but that was really the first time that we had a vocal ensemble together singing harmony definitely as part of like a full show for Mason Madness. But we may have done it a couple times at a game, but that was the first, at least I remember you guys coming together, writing harmonies and singing all together too.
Well, that was mostly Katie. Shout out to Katie Anderson, because Katie Anderson, Shire are the two particular that come to mind in terms of early vocalists.
Yeah.
So like even before like I came into the picture, you know, the ladies was crushing it.
That's true. That's true. And I will take full credit for Shire, by the way. You don't even know this. So Shire, my sophomore year, was living across the hall from me. And we spent a lot of time together, just kind of as hallmates do. And she had this incredible voice, just knockout voice. And I was like, I'm in the pep band and we have singers, you should sing. And she's like, no, I don't really do that. And I said, trust me, just come to a rehearsal and you will.
She said, what?
Yeah.
Okay, bet. All right, I'm gonna tell her this. I'm gonna see her later. I'm gonna talk to her and tell her.
I promise you, she will confirm this story. Promise you.
Okay, bet. All right.
Awesome. Well, Sawyer, David, what's up?
I got one from those trips that we do to the high schools and stuff. I can't remember if it was at Charleston or a different one, but Doc got notice from the admissions folks that there was somebody at the high school that had received their admission, but they hadn't put in their deposit yet. It was in that period where, they had received the letter saying you're into Mason, and then the deadline was some time in the future. And we put on like a big show for the high school as part of this like recruiting trip. And Doc like pulled the kid up on stage and was like, congratulations, you're in Mason, in front of like all their friends and everything. And everyone just goes nuts. And like, there's no way that kid didn't come to Mason that year.
I would hope that he would lock that in right in the moment. That's awesome.
The other thing I wanted to share is that at the Charleston trip, when we actually stopped and did all the food bank stuff, the food bank actually says in a different video interview that they'd never seen a more efficient group and get so much done in such a short amount of time. They were like,
Who's stopping? Who's stopping?
Can we have you guys just come back?
That doesn't surprise me. Leanne and I were both part of what the most efficient and renowned crew, the packing crew.
Can we get some love for all you guys? Oh my God, the work you guys put in to make sure everything was efficient, packed away to make things smooth. It like you guys laid the groundwork for all of this joint. So yes, thank y'all.
For anyone who's in Eagle Bank Arena, and Sawyer, I promise I'm coming to you. For anyone who is ever in Eagle Bank Arena and you're walking around the concourse, if you look to the right, you will miss our packing closet because it is that small and that easy to miss. And we are responsible, or at least we were, for packing 8 sousaphones, our whole PA, our subwoofer, our instruments, everything into that tiny little closet. And it was a feat of supernatural proportions to pack that closet.
And it just kept growing.
All right, Sawyer, I promise, and I now fulfill my promise to pass it over to you. Sawyer is our pep band vice president and is our guru and our liaison to the pep band. So Sawyer, over to you.
Thank you, Peter. I don't know how much of a guru we are yet, but we like keeping connected. I want to start just by kind of jumping on the back of talking about trips and talk about kind of how I first found out about the Green Machine. So I was a band geek in high school and was like in the marching band. And I was like, well, I'm not going to a school probably that has a marching band. So like, I'll just let the band part of my life go. My parents always went to the basketball tournaments, and that was just my parents' thing. And they were actually Wave and Mary fans. So we were in the CAA way back when, and I used to go watch Wave and Mary basketball with them. And I was sitting there that year, 2011 CAA, and I was sitting in Richmond in the Coliseum watching them play. And Doc came out in all his glory, and they were playing. And I was like, I kind of want to go there. And so lo and behold, all these years later, here I am hanging out with the Green Machine. Funny how worlds come together. But it's fun for me now to see kind of the flip side of those trips where we get to go play at high schools now and we get to go show communities how cool we are. And it actually works. It all comes full circle. But the trip I'm going to highlight for you guys is I believe it's our first trip to Brooklyn. So it's the A10 tournament. And this is a really great video that Josh Cruz did for us again. Just kind of highlighting all the coolness we did at the event. This was the first time we had the harp play. And I remember one time during the middle of the harp solo, the commentators were all like, oh, they have a harp in their band? She must be an angel. And all of us just like loved on that for weeks and weeks. We were like, that's what they picked up. Our whole band, all the loudness we are, they're like, oh, they must be an angel. Like, she must be an angel. We got them. And we loved
the setup, the complete setup.
Oh, yes. We were like, yep, this seems fair. So it was great. And you'll see in the video, we have like almost a double band wide. So we got to bring extra people on this trip. So we got to have a student section and a band section because we got to play a whole bunch of gigs on this trip. I think we did 2 high schools. We did like a family event or a media event where people got to come and just listen to us and listen to kind of the pep rally before the event, and then actually play at the games themselves and hype up our band as much and our team as much as we could. So this is a short video, so I thought I'd preempt it and then let you guys just enjoy it in its full glory. But yeah, I mean, if those are your promo videos, I don't know how you can't get hype and you can't join.
Agreed. And I'm jealous because all my years, the CAA tournament was in Richmond, Virginia at the Richmond Coliseum. And we always went to Quaker Steak and Lube and had wings and stayed in questionable hotel rooms and and enjoyed the Richmond.
Stop. Yeah.
And you guys get to go to Brooklyn. I mean, come on. That's ridiculous. Cool. So next on the agenda, I am personally looking forward to hear from, because I, as a 4.5-year member of the Green Machine, know very little about the Winter Guard. And it was part of the reason why I, yes, you, part of the reason why I decided to take David's offer to join the alumni chapter leadership team, because it was my kind of direct line into learning more about these different ensembles that I should know more about, because they are ridiculously awesome and world renowned. So Evie, I'm very pleased to throw it over to you if you'd like to introduce yourself and tell some stories along the way. You, ma'am, are on mute.
Yay! Okay. Hello. Thank you. Hi, I'm Evie. So much. Well, I'm gonna start with that. Well, for starters, I'm actually in California right now. So alumni in California, woo! Color Guard, Winter Guard. I'm really happy that I'm here to sort of let you guys have a peek, because obviously a peek into our Color Guard, because unfortunately, we perform for like competition outside of George Mason and, not on campus, and we don't get to be at the basketball games because we have a huge, tarp that we had to pull out. So you wouldn't quite fit in there. But I will start with George Mason Color Guard, Winter Guard. So there's Color Guard, which is mostly outdoors band, but the Winter Guard is indoors. And they came out, more notably George Mason's, in 2008, because that's when they went to WGI for the first time, which is Winter Guard International. It's held in Dayton, Ohio. It's worldwide, like people from all over the world come to Ohio to compete for, championships. That's pretty much the whole goal for the season. So yeah, in 2008, with their show Autumn Colors, they came out for the first time after just 2 years of, having a program at George Mason, which is a huge accomplishment. They came in last that year, but little did they know, 10 years later, after just years of color guard and stuff, and then there was a change, and we had Lindell Palmer come in as our director. And in 2019, we became Independent Open World Championships. We did make a world record for George Mason as being the second highest score in the world in history. So
celebration. No, it's not.
And so yes, so I would love to play the video, Peter, and then I can talk a little bit more about the memories and like what
You got it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, my noise is still on. David's like, "Are you in there?" And I'm like, "Yes, of course." It's funny, we all have buns. We all, the idea is to look identical, so I get lost. But okay, so first of all, it was hard to even choose just 60 seconds. That's a 5-minute routine. And every 10 seconds, something totally changes in the whole floor. But so I mentioned 2008, how, they went to WGI. There's actually members of the 2008 group, like Kat Belkoff and Armand Melendez, who has been in the Mason Color Guard staff since then, since they've graduated and stuff, and they know Lindell Palmer. But so that show was called The Journey Back. And even though, because it was under the direction of Lindell Palmer, even though he hadn't been there for all of, Mason Color Guard years, his motivation was like a journey back through all of his years of directing and the color guards and the families that he's created. So that, and I personally have been with Lindell Palmer since high school. So it was really sentimental to me. Me and Devin Robinson, we were both co-captains that year. And the piece, really color guard with Mr. Palmer, it's all about, not about winning. It's not about the end product. It's just like, how far can you push yourself? And that comes emotionally, with your bodies, mentally. I'm sure with pep band and everything else, we rehearse 10 to 12 hours on the weekends, so our social life is gone, but it's all dedicated to, perform from our souls with our family that we created as being a team, and spending so many hours, you just can't help but become family. And so us winning that year, again, after 10 years, starting at going to WGI and placing last, and then now here we are, we broke a world record, we're first place, and it really just everyone I know on the floor felt the magic, and we all had our own stories to tell, but yet still came together for this performance and for this meaningful story. And Yeah, like that's color guard, and it is. I wish we could perform at basketball games at halftime shows, but it would take so long. But it's really nice, and I mean that community. We have people come in from not just on campus. You know, as long as you're 18 and older, you are able to join after auditions. And now that we won first, we're world class. George Mason now is world class winter guard, and woo! And so anybody can join of all ages. So staff who started out in 2008 became staff members we're back on the team in 2020. So like it's just like this whole like it's just like evolution of family and George Mason and like what this environment we were able to create and you know, and journey. So yeah, I hope you are able to take the time to watch the whole video because it is a lot, and you might have to watch it a few times because every corner you look at something different going on. I mean, I'm standing on rifles at one point, which are on people's shoulders. Devin, who's our biggest boy on the team, is being lifted by all the girls, and he's also lifting me and then another girl at the same time. So, so many things, and not to mention 2018 when we had a spinning table. And we were a carousel. So anyways, so yeah, that is a little snippet of the Winter Guard at George Mason.
Evie, Adrian, is Adrian still staff with the group?
She's not staff anymore, I believe. I don't know as of this year. I think she had other things to take care of, but for the first half of like season that Lindell was there, she was, and oh my gosh, she was such a joy and so positive and so exciting to be around. So yeah, but I don't think.
So Evie talked a little bit about some of the community connections, and I brought up there's Adrian is both a personal friend of mine, and she's been involved in the Winter Guard at Mason for a long time. I think I'm right in saying she was part of the founding group when she was a student, and she's continued to be connected as a staff member.
That's correct, David.
Yes, we got a Doc Nix in the house. and I'm going to brag on him a little bit. Doc is, unsurprisingly to anybody, a community builder. Adrian not only was a staff member and a student at Mason, but Doc and Adrian met when Doc was doing his doctorate before he was a doc. He was an instructor at a local high school in Northern Virginia, Edison High School. He was an instructor at a few different high schools. But he would spend at least some of his summers at Thomas Edison High School down in Alexandria, of which I was also a student. So I knew Doc before he came to Mason, and he made a real tough sell for me to come. He basically invited me to what used to be Midnight Madness, and it totally blew me away. But Doc, in being a community builder, stayed connected with these people. And here Adrian was, as somebody that he met in a high school environment, somebody that came to George Mason. Doc, was able to nurture those relationships into somebody that, stayed connected with the group for years and years after that. So
I would like to also build on how you said Doc Nix is a community builder, because not only for staff, but I know Lindell Palmer came from a high school color guard and then independent, and like it was all like money was out of, like, he paid things out of his pocket and hope in whatever sponsorships, but like Doc Nix, he would come into practice and like would hype up the whole room. He'd be like, some of you don't come to this university, but like, I am here for you. I'm here to support this group. Like, let me know and we're going to make it happen. Like I said, we had a spinning table. He brought Mama Nix to our competition. It was like, oh my God, like he's bringing, we mean that much that he's bringing his family. So I have to just like also agree, like emphasize that, like it was amazing having that other form of support for a Winter Guard, because it is sort of like pushed on the side in many places. So thank you so much, Doc Nix, because like with your motivation and like believing in us, like that's why we got to where we have gotten.
I don't see how you could expect I could walk into a place where you were doing all the things that you were doing and not support it. It's like, I'm not only trying to support your work, I'm trying to claim your work. It's like, I need for people, when they see that, I want them to think of me. And the only way I can do that is for me to walk in the room and be like, this is my group. But Evie, you're everything I've seen you do, like on the floor, in rehearsal, on social media, just us, the few times we get to hang and run our mouths. You're a dream come true. It's been so great having you and all the stuff you were involved in. I'm so excited to see all the things you're doing now. you know, I know there's a collaboration in the future. I'll get back in touch. We started talking about before, but I'm going to get back on that. Because I just need to like incorporate your dance Tourette's into my life.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thanks for always like staying connected, even in like small ways. So thank you.
You're yeah, like I said, your dream come true. So glad you're part of us.
Before I throw it to Velez, because Velez is next, I would be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity. I rarely have natural segues to tell a story, which is like my favorite all-time George Mason story. And it's because David told a story about Doc and community building. Evie told a story about Doc and community building. I was on a visit. I hadn't even like signed my name to come to Mason yet. And I was thinking about being a music technology minor. And I don't know if it was an audition or if I was just messing around in a practice room. I somehow ended up in a room with Doc in a practice room, just playing drum set, which is not my primary instrument by any stretch. And Doc stops and he's like, yeah, whatever. It wasn't very good. But we have this convocation thing that we are doing. And I need a snare drummer. Do you have 30 minutes to just like mess around and do this for me? And I was like, yeah, sure. I don't play snare drum, but if you can find me a snare drum, I'll do it. So we go up in the pab and we find not a marching snare drum, but a concert snare drum that Doc rigs with a guitar strap and just slaps it over my shoulder. And so it's me with a concert snare drum on a guitar strap. It is Buddy Deschler, who plays trumpet and is now just this ridiculous world-class trumpet player. Doc on tuba, not Jeremy, Don Bradner on trombone. And we decide to just really quickly do a kind of New Orleans march of the Saints Go Marching In. And it was cool. We were like having a good time. Halfway through us walking from the pab to the JC, my concert snare, which I've been playing like this as one does, collapses. And so it is now, if this is the snare drum as you would typically play it, it is now like this. And so I have to now play like this against my belly. And so scared to like piss Doc off or ruin the performance or whatever. I wasn't going to stop and, well, not knowing you, I would do it in a heartbeat. But at the time, this little 17-year-old kid, or however old I was playing like this for probably 30 minutes, just making a complete fool of myself. But yeah, the encouragement I got, the vibes I got from Doc, it was just like, yeah, I'm coming here, and probably won't be a music major, but I'll be in that guy's band, no doubt.
And then to add to that, fast forward maybe a year or two later, we're at the women's tournament at the Showcase Arena in Maryland. Yeah. And we get to the halftime show, and somehow the message didn't make it to everyone in the band. You can't leave during halftime because we perform all of halftime. And I ended up, always go on these trips, and I make sure I have two drummers so that somebody can run to the bathroom or whatever. And both of them went and got food at the same time. And so it was time for us to play. There was no drummer. And so Peter Milligan jumped on the set, saved the day. It's like, you're like comfortable playing like one or two tunes in the book. Well, I guess that's what we're playing.
Didn't notice that Doc had directed the whole band to skip the drum solo, and I didn't see your cue. And then I go, whatever. That was a disaster and a highlight at the same time, Doc.
just a highlight.
Just the highlight. Tight. That was awesome. Okay. Velez, my man, it is your turn to shine. This is this is an awesome opportunity for Velez to give himself some shouts, because he's a ridiculously talented musician, and I'm glad that we all had the forethought to make sure that he was included in this conversation. So,
thanks,
sir.
So, well, just to introduce myself, hi everyone. My name's Andrew, class of 2019 Jazz Studies, and I honestly didn't get started into the group probably until later in my undergrad. That's really when I started picking up, which is around like the 2010, 2009. Like I came to like a few games and whatnot, but I didn't start really getting active until 2011. And during that time, I was just doing trumpet. Like I wasn't singing, I wasn't arranging, I wasn't doing all these kind of things. I started as just, grunt work playing trumpet too. And of course, over time, I started seeing other folks who were arranging and you know, coming up with new charts and whatnot. I was like, I kind of want to do that. And so I did, you know, I went for it. And, you know, eventually I came up with the first chart that I did, which was like a Drake arrangement, and it flopped. And so fast forward, um, it definitely led to understanding how to write for Green Machine, which is a whole different monster than any other, I guess you could say, ensemble to write for, just because of understanding the balances, understanding who is going to be in the group that day, you know, who are your stronger players, understanding those dynamics and structures like that. And so fast forward to, I guess it's 2017. I think so. I can't even remember the date that I wrote the chart. But needless to say, it was fast forward a couple years, and this is after I've already done a couple of arrangements and a few Mason Madness stuff, like writing too. And so
Well, Les, you somehow went on mute, my man. There we go.
sorry, sorry, I had an incoming call. But most people don't know this, but this original tune is actually the second draft. I don't think I've ever told anyone this. It's just because I remember the first couple nights when I tried working on a original tune for Green Machine, it was a daunting task, just because of like the legacy, the energy, and trying to bring something that was continuing that tradition of like amazing, something new and innovative. It was almost daunting. And so I remember the first draft that I wrote, it was more like rock oriented and very inspired by, obviously, you know, Rage Against the Machine. And I was like, we already have something like that. And I remember the night that I trashed that score. And I was just like frustrated. I was like, man, I can't think of anything. I'm like, okay, what would Duke Ellington do, right? And so I'm just like, he would emphasize as many different new cats, like, and what they do their best. And I was like, cool, I'm a simmer on this. And I kid you not, the night of, it was like 3 or 4 a.m. I woke up. Like the first line came to me. I was like, yo, where's this piano at? I gotta work on it. Like, it happened. And the rest is history. You know, I really wanted to bring a song that highlighted vocalists, rappers, harp, strings, brass for the breakdown section. Like, you name it, there's a moment for every section in there somewhere. And so if anything, I think that's probably the proudest achievement in terms of working with Green Machine, is developing an original song that not only highlights how far Green Machine has come, but also will highlight any future artist or any future student that comes on. Is like, I can rap. Oh, I can play harp. Oh, I can play with the low brass. Oh, I can play that drum. It's like you'll identify with something. So without further ado, I guess let's play a little bit of the clip.
Lose myself tonight, lose myself tonight. Let's get lost tonight, tonight, tonight. Lose myself tonight, lose myself tonight. Let's get lost tonight, tonight, tonight. Let's get lost tonight.
Also edited by the amazing Josh Cruz. Shout out to Josh. Oh, actually, wait, sorry. Were you gonna say something? Oh, bet. So, so yeah, I can't. Does anybody remember what event that was?
New student convocation.
Yeah, it looked like, yeah, that spring new student convocation.
Yes, there it is. I think one of the other big moments too is just Tania, Bobby, you know, all of us together, my girl Diamond out here, you know, it's just like, it's a whole crew vibe. with that tune, and that's honestly all I gotta say. It was an incredible opportunity to clarification. Not the first original song. Jeremy Freer actually holds that title. A fun fact for anybody who doesn't realize it. But the Player Intros is the first original chart that Green Machine has ever had. I just have the rights to the first full-length original chart. So,
that Player Intro is hype. I love that one.
Yeah, man, classic. I mean, yeah, no, it's a staple. So, and then of course, led to other arrangements as well as the second original, Faster Farther, and hopefully is only just the beginning. At once things clear up with COVID and we're back to schedule, as you can say, the Green Machine business, you can expect only more amazing music to come down the way and hopefully more amazing talent to highlight. So that's what I look forward to.
I want to add a couple little things in and flesh out one extra thing. I actually remember, so you may have trashed a chart that I didn't know about, but you also started with another original before that called Just Getting Started. That was way back. You handed me that draft and we actually never read it because there was just too many, as we dug in, there was just too many things that we needed to get back to. So somewhere on a hard drive, you have that chart and you should go back and fix it.
Oh my God. I don't know if I want to, man. I don't know if I want to. I have better ideas now. I have them way better.
So it's good to go back because, first of all, you do have better ideas because you're going to develop every day. However, you might go back and find something that you forgot was like you got a whole different way to look at it now, and you could either turn it into something great or we could just enjoy the quaintness of it or something like that. Anyway, just you should go back and look for it because I'm curious too. And then another thought I had was don't undersell what we did because don't forget that turned into an enterprise commercial.
That's right.
And it also we got that studio recording that we're going to be editing forever, but we have another version of with all the vocals and all that. So we're looking to get some of that stuff moving soon. We actually have the folks working on it now in a way that's going to get done. I'm confident. So I'm looking forward to that. But I remember particularly we captured some really sweet vocals on those sessions. And I want to give a shout, even though I know she's not here. Back when Palace was singing with us, that was just one more weapon in the mix that was just out of control, amazing. So looking forward to that.
Just the last couple notes before passing it on. Arranging for the band has been an immense journey and challenge, but a wonderful challenge in terms of understanding what's going to hype the band and what's going to give the energy to whatever scenario we are in. That's the number one thing I always strive for when it comes to picking a tune for arranging or even writing original material is how is that energy going to be felt? It needs to be there. It needs to knock and it needs to be relentless because that's what we do as Green Machine. So
awesome. Well, David Roth, tough act to follow. This is we're back to you, and David's going to share about a couple more of our world-renowned ensembles, show a couple more videos. I want to recognize that I think this was kind of advertised as an hour-long event, but I think we're all having a good enough time sharing stories and reminiscing about the music and madness we made together that we all want to stick around. So. David, over to you. And I have a couple videos from you, so you'll just need to be clear with me about which one you want to show when.
Yeah, perfect. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Drumline stuff. Drumline's gone through some iterations, but first for folks that aren't super familiar with the activity, we've all seen a drumline in our life before. Mason has that. They have, something that you're going to see at events. Mason's drumline has gone to Caps games and Nationals games. Sometimes they're even incognito. They're playing the part of somebody else's drumline. So they're all over the place doing stuff. They're doing things around campus. They're showing up in the JC unannounced and just getting people riled up and amped up for all kinds of events and stuff. So that exists as the drumline. George Mason also has a competitive drumline, similar to what Evie was telling us about the Winter Guard. There is a circuit called Winter Guard International, and it's a competitive circuit where there are some scholastic units, those that are attached to schools, some independent units that are operate as their own entities, either nonprofits or attached to some other type of organization. So George Mason has a competitive drumline, and the circuit starts, it's normally a winter activity. In the summers, they'll normally do Drum Corps International. And then in the winter, this is sort of a complementary activity that drummers can get into. So normally starts in the fall and then ends somewhere around the spring. Similar to what Evie said, the Drumline Championships are also in Dayton, Ohio. And in addition to being a very high energy activity, it's a very high precision activity. These groups get together and rehearse for large number of hours to get everything dialed in absolutely perfectly. So the first one that I just want to show, Peter, that first video that I'd sent, this one is just going to be a clip from a show, so you can get a feel for what it looks like. And then I have another video that I'll show in a minute that zooms in on one part of it. But here's just a taste of what one of these shows looks like. Peter, whenever you get a chance.
Is this the right one, David?
Yep.
All right, cool.
Cool. So that was just a taste of what they do. So they set up with all the different equipment there, and they have a preset show that they'll do for a whole season, and it'll go through some iterations. They'll get comments back. The activity is judged, and they'll get comments back in different categories, visual categories, music categories, the overall effect, and they'll make little tweaks to the show as they go. And like I said, it's a very high precision activity. By the end of the season, they're trying to get it dialed in to the maximum. So the video that I just showed, well, first, the history of this, the group was formed in 2007. And the first time that they competed was 2009. First couple of years, there was a spirit group. They had these hilariously awesome jumpsuits. Like, they're so good. Like windbreaker, green and gold, and they wore, you know, shades anytime that they were around. It was absolutely ideal. So started off as a spirit group. The idea, I think, was always to compete. So that started in 2009. Proud to have participated in the first two shows that happened. So talk, maybe we'll tell that story in a sec. But the first two shows that we competed in, I was part of that. In 2012, that show that you guys just saw the excerpt of, they won the circuit for that year. Now, drumline, similar to Winter Guard, there are different levels of competition for different groups. And we started off in the middle level. And in 2012, they won that one. And they got bumped up to the highest class that was their world class, the highest competitive tier that they could. And they've been competing in that group since then. So one thing I wanted to zoom in on, Peter, the second video, if you can get that queued up. This being a really high precision activity, these folks get together, they all have their instruments, and the amount of concentration and rehearsal that gets them to this high level of precision is often just as impressive as the shows. So there's this tradition when you go to any of the drumline competitions to watch what they do in the lot. So here's a selection of that. right. I
That
saw,
was, that was pretty sweet.
yeah. I saw a Frozen video. Did the rest of you?
Same? Oh no. I did not see a Frozen video.
But you had an awesome time.
I had a great time. You want to try it again?
Maybe let's do the first 30 seconds of it, and I'll stop you if it looks frozen again.
Okay, cool.
Peter, I'm seeing a Frozen video again.
Man alive.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I think Evie nailed it. I think they were just moving too fast, and it's like Zoom just can't keep up with that. So if you're curious to what these drum lines look like as they practice in the parking lot before they head in for the competition, you can find videos specifically of Mason's drum line. The Green Machine Ensembles does have a YouTube page. There's a ton of awesome media on it. But if you want to see the video that we're looking for right now, Peter's gonna put it in the chat, and you can check that out at your pleasure. So I want to pivot a little bit to some of the newer groups. We've talked about the drum line that again has its lineage back to the 2000s, the Winter Guard also in the 2000s. The pep band goes back much further than that, as I talked about at the very beginning. We've got some groups that are even newer than that. I'm glad we have Doc here because he'll be able to supplement some of the things that I'm talking about. But first, let's just, Peter, can you pull up that last photo? It starts with the 03. So George Mason has a fife and drum corps, and Peter will have a picture of this just in a moment. But George Mason, the namesake of the university, has ties to our nation's history. And we're fortunate to be able to tap into some of that history in some of the ensembles that that have been put together in the most recent few years. So here's an image of the Fife and Drum Corps. They also have done events. They're somebody from the Alumni Association before the event pointed out they love seeing them at graduations. They go to other ceremonial parts of the university, so you'll see them when maybe the full pep band isn't quite the appropriate thing. A couple things to point out on this: check out their drums. It's got the Mason seal on those. Those are custom drums that we use. Doc, correct me if I'm wrong, but are they using period correct instruments all around?
So I would say a better way to think is we model ourselves after the old guard, the U.S. Army's Fife and Drum Corps. And I would say they are great homages to period instruments, but there are some key differences that make them just a little bit more practical. So for instance, instead of having an animal skin head on the drum, it's a synthetic head. But other than that, the drum is constructed very much in the way it would have been constructed 200 years ago. There might be some machinery things in there, screws and bolts and things like that, are a little bit more modern. But the overall concept and the rope and the way that the wood is used, and of course totally hand painted as well. Those seals are original hand painted, each one. The fifes are more like a modern instrument, and we can, I could probably get a lot better explanation out of Emily Barone, who's our fife instructor, but we definitely went for a modern take on the fife as the old guard, so that one of the main ideas in terms of the student body participation is that if they get interested and want to make a career in the old guard, they have been performing on the exact same instruments that they would if they were to join that group.
Doc, perfect. Thank you. You also see in their uniforms intentionally picked to be, maybe incorporating elements of Mason with historical elements. You'll see that they're in a Mason green that maybe wouldn't have been, worn by one of the groups specifically in that period, but is perfect for Mason's iteration on this. So
it wouldn't be out of line though for a local unit to have a color like that. And though we haven't identified specifically anything in Virginia that had that color, we are confident that with enough digging, we will find a green group to be able to at least make the reference that there was one.
Great. Speaking of period correct instruments, Peter, can you pull up that last video? So a couple of the groups that have come up recently include Civil War era and Revolutionary War era groups. What I'm going to show you a little snippet of here is something called the eighth GM Regiment Band, and we have a snippet of this. And I do think I'm correct in saying, because I remember at least some stories of going and picking up specific period correct instruments for this group. But Peter, are you able to bring up that last video?
Yep, and taking Doc's advice to change the resolution. So hopefully this works, and if it doesn't, just give me a shout, David, okay?
Yep. Peter, I'm seeing it first.
Man, what is going on with my technology here? Do you want me to send you the link, David, and you can share it?
Yeah, let's try that.
All right. Let's see.
While they're doing that, I have a silly story to share about fife and drum.
Please.
So, Doc already knows the story. So in the many moments of being a member of Green Machine Ensembles, you inevitably get a call or a text or an email from someone saying, hey, are you in town? Are you in Fairfax or Richmond? And the fife and drum needed to be at, I don't remember whose inauguration it was.
McAuliffe's. It was McAuliffe's inauguration.
It was one of the it was Governor McAuliffe's inauguration in Richmond, and I happened to be in town. And I got the call the day before, I think, and they were like, hey, we're coming down. We need somebody else to march with fife and drum. And I was like, I can't play a fife. And you have, I think Paul Bernfeld was the drum. And so it was like 3 of us that marched. But for one day, I was in the fife and drum, 4 of us.
So three in uniform and me in full game gear. So 3 colonial period military uniforms, and Doc with a, my cream colored suit, hat, and a banner that we couldn't keep the middle up. So it was sagging in the middle.
It was pouring down rain the whole time.
Pouring down rain. The drum is cutting into Paul's leg. He's bleeding. And then just to make it all the better, in the parade ahead of us were 2 ginormous groups. Well, actually three groups, because the Virginia High and Tidies were there, Virginia Tech. Then the Virginia State, they're unfortunately called the Trojan Explosion Marching Band. And then the James Madison Marching Royal Dukes were all ahead of us. And then we were bringing up the rear on those groups. So giant group, huge performance. And then the 4 of us in the rain.
We show up though. That's the thing. We
did.
Show up.
We made it happen.
Love that. Let's take a little listen to this, and somebody shout if it's not working. Great.
Thanks for having technology that works, David. I appreciate that.
I think your computer's got fed up. It knows it's Friday evening, which brings us to I think we're at thank yous. Peter, that's what I wanted to show with those. Back to you.
Yeah, I David, I appreciate you jumping in and taking over technology duties, and I do want to thank all of you guys for joining. And it does sound like my wife, who, Doc, you weren't on when I mentioned that, how thankful I was for you to, for no apparent reason, pick a freshman trombone player to come on that Puerto Rico trip, because otherwise my 2-year-old kid wouldn't be screaming my name, and my wife, who I met on that trip, wouldn't be calling for reinforcements. But I want to thank everybody for joining, and I'm going to take this opportunity to graciously bow out and help my wife. But you're in the good hands of our fearless leader, David. And Doc, I love seeing your face, and Ben, I love seeing your face, and Sawyer, I love seeing your face, and great to see all the new faces too. I hope that you learned a couple things. I certainly did. I have about 1,000 questions for Evie. So I'm gonna find you and ask you all the things. But until then, hope you had a good night, and I'm gonna drop, but I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend and a great rest of homecoming.
Peter, y'all are amazing. I'm so glad we get to continue to work on things together. And I will neither deny or confirm that I go out of my way to bring a good party on a trip to make sure that we have the right folks there that can hang, and we're gonna make cool things happen. But yeah, I mean, like when it turns into our long-term retention program to have the right people in the mix, what else is there to say? You know,
it's magical.
Pretty sure she got stuck in the elevator on that trip.
Yeah, and you know what?
We talked about showing that clip.
I'm gonna send it to you, David. We have a video, Doc. I think you've seen it. I'm sure you have. There's a compilation of just like TV broadcast clips from that trip, and
Kahuna made that, put all that together. I think.
Did you?
I think so.
That's awesome. Of course you did. And the very first clip is the announcer saying, "I got stuck on the elevator with that young woman and some of her bandmates and blah, 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 blah." But David, I'll send you that so you can show everybody. And things are melting down upstairs, so I'm going to bow out.
Do your thing.
Love you all.
All right. This is the official conclusion of our event. I'm going to turn off the recording, and those that want to continue hanging out can continue to do it. But thanks everybody for coming tonight.